Christmas celebrations are cancelled this year, for it's impossible to celebrate Christmas when our people in Gaza are going through a genocide. Usually it's Jesus in the manger surrounded by the shepherds, surrounded by the Holy Family, Joseph and Mary, and the Magi's who came from the east. Here we wanted to say that it's as if they are looking for Jesus in the midst of the rubble. We wanted to send a message to the world, a message that while the whole world is celebrating Christmas in festive ways, here in Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, where Christmas originated from, this is what Christmas looks like to us. Christmas is the solidarity of God with those who are oppressed, with those who are suffering. And if Jesus is to be born again this year, he will be born in Gaza, under the rubble, in solidarity with the people of Gaza. Our hope is in our faith. Our hope is in our resilience. So while Christmas celebrations are cancelled, Christmas prayers are not cancelled. And maybe when we look at the image of Jesus under the rubble, we see a light of hope and life coming out of destruction, light coming out of death.
I thought it was time to speak about peace. In December of 2005, Katie Couric interviewed Dr. Maya Angelou about the poem she had just read at the White House for their annual Christmas tree lighting. It was the poem you heard read earlier today, read so beautifully by Tony Stringer. And when Katie Couric asked her about it, Maya Angelou replied, "I thought it was time to speak about peace. It is time now to speak about peace." Dr. Angelou went on to say, "The need for peace lives in the heart of every human being, hawks and doves. I don't mean just an absence of war, I mean our daily movements. Try not to be just a peacemaker, be a peace bringer. Bring it with you. Be a peace bringer." During this time of year when Christians await the birth of Jesus as the bringer of peace, I feel we can no longer wait. If indeed we all have a spark of the divine within us, and we are all connected to one another and to creation, well then we are the peace bringers Maya Angelou spoke of. It is us. And I wanted to explore this creche that the Lutherans are using in Bethlehem this year, because this is exactly the kind of thing we would have done at my seminary, the place where I studied, Union Theological Seminary, where great peacemakers like Reinhold Niebuhr, Paul Tillich, James Cone, and Dietrich Bonhoeffer all studied. The students and faculty at Union Theological Seminary had an undying commitment to make Jesus and all surrounding iconography and rituals perpetually relevant to the moment at hand, and perpetually always faithful to a God that liberates the oppressed above all else. For this Lutheran pastor in Bethlehem, we cannot, like he says, we cannot fully celebrate Christmas, not while war, destruction, genocide, and terror blanket that region and the sanctity of human life is trampled upon each day. And yet, somewhere in the world, this is always taking place, each year. And yet, there is still time. Each day brings new hope for peace. Now I ask you, have you ever known a true peace bringer? Have you ever been so lucky? I have. Those who stand for peace, above all else, might be viewed as naive, optimistic, or weak, but the peace bringers I have known wear their peace like a bat symbol, radiating outward, powerfully and without fear, for all to see and for all to look up and wonder if peace becomes the beacon and the watchword. What will happen next? The true peace bringers I have known, the ones who are really in it for life, the ones who live with peace on the forefront of their hearts, bring powerful discipline to their lives dedicated to peace. I mean, they are consistent in everything they do. Have you ever had the honor of knowing one of these peace bringers? Perhaps here at UUCA you have encountered one of them. They would like to form a committee to promote nuclear disarmament. Even today, in 2023, they have not given up hope for this peaceful cause. They are long-haul people, and they stand at the ready. Peace bringers, they will love your cause. They will encourage your enthusiasm, but they cannot take up your particular social justice passion because they are already busy making peace everywhere. They are singularly focused because that is what is required. They are concerned not enough people attended the peace conference last year, but remember they are consistent, and so they hope to see you at next year's peace conference. The peace bringers have a postcard for you to sign to the President of the United States, demanding a full defunding of our military, an immediate withdrawal from all current wars, and a fully funded public school system. The peace bringers have brought a quiche to the potluck, and they want to know if you'd like some. Interpersonally, the peace bringers may sometimes be a little conflict avoidant, but you have to remember they have seen some stuff. Whatever you say pales in comparison to the real brutality they have witnessed out there in the streets protesting war, or in jail protesting war, or perhaps in the military during wartime. The peace bringers are generally quiet, but when they speak, there's a hush across the room and everyone listens. Now, I have known these beloved peace bringers, most of them elders of mine, people of overwhelming bumper stickers, and people of perpetual meetings on the horizon. They're very busy. Their steadfast, quiet pursuit of peace is only insufficient because you have not joined them. If all of us became peace bringers, and then we recruited our friends and families to become peace bringers, and they recruited their friends to become peace bringers, and maybe some people recruited their enemies too to become peace bringers, well, we could have peace. War is over if you want it. And so we must always remember to keep peace at the center of the conversation, not let it go. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine deep peace? Deep peace, may it take hold of our dreams and never let them go. Deep peace, may it grab the headlines with the same urgency of war and never release the grasp of our attention. Deep peace, may it spark on the lips of every member of Congress. May the lawyers and their biggest donors who whisper in their ears be whispering words of peace. Don't forget to talk about peace. Peace is possible. Deep peace, may it seduce the world's greatest leaders more than power. May they long to become the leader who is remembered as the peace bringer in chief, the one who finally achieved it. Deep peace. This begins with the peace bringers among us. It begins with us. What's the song? Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. See, peace bringers work for peace in all spaces, in the world, in the home, and in the heart. To be clear, this does not equal a life without conflict. No. The war journalist Amanda Ripley writes a lot about the nature of this current era of conflict we find ourselves in now. She says, we are trapped in a pattern of distress known as high conflict, where the conflict itself has become the point, and it sweeps everything into its vortex. and the subtleties of people's arguments and the different features of a person become flattened and swept into the vortex of that conflict. It becomes all that they are. And this is the diabolical thing about high conflict. And every single one that this journalist Ripley has followed all over the world, you end up harming the things you care about the most, the thing you usually went into the conflict to protect without even realizing it. So there's something diabolical about that system of high conflict where usually everyone suffers, but to very different degrees. And just like in a contentious and hostile divorce, typically, who suffers the most? Children. So, how to get out? How to get free from this high conflict? It's not no conflict. Amanda Ripley offers a number of suggestions she has studied. One of them I'll mention briefly, just involves never arguing with the person who is the farthest from your position. So maybe don't start there. She talks about a concept called looping. Looping. Now, looping is predicated on an assumption that all parties recognize each other's humanity. So I need to say that at the outset. But looping, basically you are listening for the thing that seems the most important to the person with whom you're talking. To them, the thing that is the most important to them, not to you, which is hard. And then you try to play it back to them, not robotically repeating their words, but distilling that thing that is most important to them into the most elegant language you can muster. And then, also easy to forget, you ask them, you check back in. Do I have that right? So the thing you care about is something incredibly elegant. And then you ask, do I have that right? Just ask them. This is looping someone's core value back to them and noticing if they relax at how deeply they have been heard and seen. In relationships, where one side's full humanity is not recognized by the other, such as what we see now happening in Palestine, between Palestine and Israel, one of the things that has to happen is that we have to convince each group that the other group is not leaving. They're not going to be annihilated. They are not going to die out. We are all stuck with each other, and we've got kids together, just like a high conflict divorce. So it becomes very difficult to come up with an example of someone or of a people who you would give up on completely. John Lewis said something similar. Does anyone remember what he said? He said, never give up on anyone. But peace, as we know, is not always so simple. In his letter from a Birmingham jail, Martin Luther King discussed the philosophy of negative peace versus positive peace. And if you'll recall, his 1963 letter was written as a public rebuttal to a letter signed by a large group of Christian clergy, his colleagues, who were asking him to slow down and to change his tactics of fighting for equal rights for Black people in America. They were asking him to slow down. And in response, from jail, King wrote, I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Black American's greatest stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, well, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another person's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises Black people to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection, he writes. Actually, we who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of the tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive. We bring it out in the open where it can be seen and dealt with. That from Martin Luther King. King is talking about bringing peace. He is talking about bringing peace, no, not just negative peace, not just merely the absence of tension, but positive peace, the presence of justice. But make no mistake, no peace in the world, no peace in the community, nor the family is possible without peace in the heart. And so this holiday season, let us seek peace within, too. Let us release ourselves from having the best holiday or the worst holiday, and maybe just have a good enough holiday. Claps. A peaceful holiday. A peaceful holiday. Slow it all down like you might be in some way attuned to the pace of the eternal. Begin your December mornings with a meditation, or a silent walk without headphones, or just some time sitting quietly with a poem. And don't give your personal peace away to someone else. This is one of those sermons where I should have asked you to bring out a notebook. Don't give your personal peace away to somebody else. You are responsible for the peace of your heart and the pace of your days. I know it's difficult to feel that when we're pulled in so many directions, but it is you who is ultimately responsible for the peace of your heart and the pace of your days. And with an internal practice, a sense of daily discipline, you can attain enough peace to lift that peace upwards, to hold it up to the light, and then to bring it to others, to offer it outward. Then you can become a peace bringer. And you can always, today and tomorrow and the next day, you can always write your congressperson and demand peace. You can always demand a defunding of war in Gaza. And you can do it every day. You may find yourself, you can do it as an Advent practice. You can do it as a Hanukkah practice. You may find yourself accruing bumper stickers. You may find yourself making paper cranes and bringing quiche to the potluck. But I want you to hear these words from Dr. Angelou, whoever you are in this moment, wherever you are on your journey, whoever are your companions, bring peace with you. In our joy, we think we hear a whisper. At first, it is too soft. Then only half heard. We listen as it gathers strength. We hear a sweetness. The word is peace. It is louder now. Peace. It is louder, louder than the explosion of bombs. We tremble at the sound. We are thrilled by its presence. It is what we have hungered for. Not just the absence of war, but true peace, a harmony of spirit, a comfort of courtesies, security for our beloveds and their beloveds. Let us be hungry for peace and worthy of the blessing. Amen.
Amen.